All right, guys, I guess this is the way that the stream is going to be from now on, since somebody thinks that in order to troll NBC or CNN, you have to be a Saudi. And the person I'm referring to is Mr. Danny Knapp. Now, a lot of people will probably ask me, since you debated him last week and he's virtually, first of all, there's a lot to unpack about that debate that was not discussed before. First of all, he made a hype video before the debate claiming that I wouldn't show up. And of course, I did show up and he pussed out. Like the cowardly, fat, old, tired, bitter idiot that he is, he pussed out and he said he had to go take a leak, and then he didn't return to the debate. He didn't propose to continue at any time. And now he's basically going and trolling right-wingers' videos like Amazing Lucas, who has, I'd be thrilled to have the following that Amazing Lucas has, 52,000 followers. And I think what Danny Knapp is trying to make the point of is that Amazing Lucas is a puppet of somebody else. Well, I'm sorry to tell you, Danny, but Amazing Lucas has a lot more success than you or I ever probably will have on YouTube, because you don't offer anything important. All you do is yell about how the world is unfair and how the corporations are taking you over, and how for some reason those of us that disagree with you are Saudis or Russians or Nazis. I mean, it's interesting that I could be also Jewish, but I could be Saudi, Russian, or a Nazi at the same time. I mean, it's very ironic, Danny. I mean, I think that shows a great degree of mental gymnastics that you can perform, unlike physical gymnastics that obviously you probably couldn't perform for very clear reasons.
1,000 subs. I bet they're all really classy people too. Breadlines, eating dog meat and fighting the army for toilet paper. Yay, socialism. This sounds like a winner. Project Zoo Gunner. Never Killery. Trump Jungle Boogie.
So he goes to this person's site and or YouTube page, and most of it's just like funny, stupid horror movie videos or whatever. He's expecting everybody to be absolutely political just like him. And then he doesn't understand that some people, they go on YouTube just to enjoy themselves and not necessarily to spew nonsense about everybody else being a Saudi Arabian.
Looks
so
like a wealth
you can't
of
find
knowledge.
anything important. Oh, I'm going to go back.
That chick looks like she smoked too much crack. I don't trust
Real Sherlock Holmes over here.
Yeah, Ocasio-Cortez looks really unhealthy.
Now he goes over to somebody else's profile.
Got this good stuff.
And he thinks it's going to be a racist white person, but behold, it's a black family.
Can we get some propaganda here?
Black, taller black, larger black.
He gets disappointed because he can't find people that are going to spew some of the racist stuff that he wants. It turns out that it happens to be, I guess, some black family of people that are just enjoying a car ride. But for him, they're a bunch of puppets. Yeah, he wants to call us racist, Nazis, and Saudi Arabians.
Like said, black dude, we out here on the hot summer day. Stop, bro. Chill out. We finna just go and record this real.
He still doesn't understand it.
Anyway, I guess this.
Listen, you fat retard. Not everybody has to think like you. Not everybody has to think the same thing that you do. You can see that the only person who watched this was me. So people might ask why it is that I continue to pursue and basically contend with Danny Knapp's bullshit. Well, the reason is that, first of all, you know, the debate that we did have was not on the terms that we originally agreed on. He insulted the mediator, the moderator, Halsey News, who happens to be sort of a friend of mine. I wouldn't say that we're especially on close terms, but, you know, I wanted to debate with him. And instead of agreeing to the terms of the debate, he preferred to fight with the moderator and try to make some sort of plea that, you know, here we go. Like, where was this? Like, this was the one where, like, after I'd introduced myself, I said, "Hi, Danny. I was the dude fighting with you on Twitter. The platform for our debate would be on YouTube with Halsey News. I'm messaging him asking if he could do the debate on his channel. Please respond with the following details: your time zone and acceptable hours to debate. How long of a time you're willing to debate. Typically, this is between 1 hour and 90 minutes. An icon that we can use so he can make the video thumbnail. See you later." So he did send the thumbnail. Then he said, "Obviously, if you haven't had enough after 30 minutes, there's maybe no point in continuing." But I mean, you guys have seen me in discussions. I've had discussions that are 2 hours long, 3 hours long, and then we discuss the terms of it. We can do Medicare for all a different time. I would say Nicaragua and Venezuela are my core topics. If you want to throw in Black Lives Matter as a comparison case, go ahead. So we wanted to discuss all those topics as well as Medicare for all in the same debate. And then, then it goes back and forth. And then he kept, asking me. He kept asking me, and then he wouldn't message Halsey News, okay? Because Halsey News was already, I told him, I copied him. I said, "You need to talk to Halsey News about that." And then he starts, getting like testy with me. And then Halsey responded with the times that he has, which would be a Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday of the week after the coming week. This was on June 17th, so that would have been on, let me see here. It would have been on the 23rd or the 25th of June. But then he gets all bent out of shape and whatever, and he says here, "My main concern here is," quote, "Razor," because he thinks that's my real name, "has a bad habit of straw-manning opposition." What the hell is he talking about? He'd never talked to me before. So the first thing I wish to do is explain what a straw man is and call him out when he attempts to do it. What's he talking about? You can't have a debate by simply saying you think insert dumb stuff, and we know that's dumb because X, Y, Z. The left thinks blank, Bernie says blank. Well, you saw the debate that I had with him. That's not what I did. I presented actual evidence. I presented data from the World Bank. I presented data and sources from Latin America itself. And he didn't present anything. He actually didn't present any sources whatsoever. But then he wants to make this point that everybody else is a puppet and everybody strawmans except for him. And then he goes after the amazing Lucas, who has far more followers than he does, as if everybody else must be a puppet besides him. Amazing Lucas is a puppet. So if it's a black person who's on the left, he says, well, you should give them the right to have their own opinion. If it's a black person on the right, like Amazing Lucas, who I don't even know, I actually do know Anthony Brian Logan, who has an even larger following than Lucas. But Lucas's channel is a pretty short, and most of his videos are short, and they're youth-oriented. It's a totally, why would a 48-year-old man, or whatever, however old Danny is interested, be critiquing Amazing Lucas over something that he doesn't have any concept of, and calling him a puppet based on absolutely no contextual evidence, okay? And then he goes after his commenters. He goes and clicks on the commenters' profiles to see. He does this all the time to see if they're Saudi bots. Okay, so you have a Saudi bot now. Are you happy?
Video's probably getting about long enough. 44 minutes. I don't know. We'll see if he's got anything to say in his last 30 seconds of his video, I guess.
I believe, no, you're an idiot. Please leave me alone. Go chew down on some Tide Pods, whatever you kids do nowadays. Either or, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please feel free to like, share, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Till next time, guys.
Hate to hell to tell you, buddy, but Trump's over. The Trump train is off the rails, and it's gonna end abruptly,
Yeah, you would know something about being a train off the rails. He got off the rails and he never got back on it. And since then, he's gained a lot of pounds. And he could probably pull a few train cars himself by now.
I can't imagine even the Democrats could come up with somebody as bad as Hillary Clinton again. And the only reason Trump got elected in 2016 is he was viewed as anti-establishment. Now he is the establishment, and he's even...
So he's the establishment, even though he's imposing tariffs on China, imposing tariffs on all these countries that until now have had free trade with us. How does that make any sense, Danny?
Worse than what we have been. He's even worse than the Obama and the Bush and the Clinton and the Reagan. And it's becoming apparent this great Trump economy is a big fucking lie. People
offers no evidence of it.
Going to figure that out pretty quickly. He's fucked up the U.S. allies around the world, like he can't even get along with Canada and Mexico, the two easiest countries, let alone Europe.
Yes, Mexico is such an easy country to get along with when they're basically ruled by cartels and corrupt politicians. That's why there was just I mean, you should of all people be able to validate this, because there was the socialist victory there just last week, and Trump said that he would work with the new Mexican president, who is a leftist, by the way. So, I mean, where's your evidence of Mexico's relationship with the U.S. being worse because of Trump? It could be said that Trump was elected because of the poor leadership of Mexico and the other Central American countries.
He got his ass handed to him in North Korea. Pompeo went back and got nothing. They got their...
That's the shape of Danny's vagina. That he's making the shape of his vagina to convey that, he got nothing from a negotiate. Well, the negotiations take time. Negotiations don't take a few years. Well, did we not get hostages through the negotiations, Danny? Did we not get, for example, all of those people all those bodies that came back, the ones that were left over from the Korean War that we'd been asking for years? And I'll tell you what, there could be setbacks in the negotiations, and there could be advances in the negotiations. But the fact that they're occurring at all is an advancement over the past few administrations. And for you to attack the Trump administration for doing it, I don't know, are you actually a left-wing supporter, or are you some sort of just you're left-wing when it's convenient for you, and then when somebody does something correctly that's not a left-winger, you just can't give credit because you're a bitter, disgusting shell of a human being?
Ass is handed to them. He's lost all influence on Iran. Now it's up to EU and shit, China and shit.
No, he knows that Iran, first of all, Iran was never influenced by the U.S. Because if they were, Iran would not be holding hostages. They were holding civilians hostage. They were holding a few Navy sailors hostage under Obama. So how was our influence any better under President Obama than it was under President Trump? Okay, what's the benefit of having influence over Iran when Iran is the most anti-American country on the planet? Okay, Iran, I'm not advocating for war with Iran, and I've always said that. But what's the benefit of having a relationship like Obama had with Iran? The actual agreement itself was revealed to have been with no teeth, because Iran was free to practice ICBM missile tests at its own leisure. Why would you have ICBM missiles if you don't have any nuclear fissionable material in order to create a nuclear weapon? Why would you even want ICBMs? Because you're gonna pack a missile full of TNT and create, a pedestrian explosion overseas, one that's like, all you would need is a cruise missile and a naval ship. Why would you need an ICBM missile? That's basically what Iran was developing. The only plausible use for an ICBM missile would be either for a nuclear weapon or for a space program. And by the way, that's how China developed their nuclear deterrence capability. In the book, right here, over here, they claimed it was a space program, but it wasn't. It wasn't a space. It was they used it for space, and they used it to launch nukes. Okay, and that was under President Clinton. The buddy of yours, the one that you don't want to admit that you probably voted for Hillary and Bill Clinton back in the 90s. But I'd like to know who you did vote for back then, because I think that if you were honest, you would admit that you did.
All we've got left is like the Saudis, and they could pull a 180 on us at any given moment.
That's exactly what I'm about to do, you fat fuck.
And of course Israel, which is quickly becoming a disaster. So
again, no explanation about that. No explanation about Israel. No explanation about Iran. No explanation about Saudi Arabia. No explanation about Mexico. No explanation about Canada. But then he complains that Amazing Lucas. So he does a 46-minute video where he breaks down Amazing Lucas's 5-minute video, and he wants to and you know, by the way, attacks Amazing Lucas's commenters. You know, just some fans of his that have nothing to do with him. And he wants to make like, oh, nobody provides an explanation. You right wingers never. Well, I talked to you for over an hour, and then when I gave you all the evidence about everything, you just wanted to take a piss and have it over with, and then you never got in touch with me again. And then you deleted your hype video, the one where you said I wouldn't show up. Well, I've showed up plenty of times, you fat asshole. Plenty of times. I'm sure you don't want me to show up now. I'm sure you're shaking in your boots at the very prospect of ever speaking to me again. You know, you coastal buoy. That's basically what you look like. You look like you're a flotation device for, you know, a sea lion that's drowning or something.
We've never been more screwed. In my lifetime, our country has never been more screwed. So, you know, I know you're a believer, but your beliefs and your patriotism and your nationalism is all a bunch of bullshit, because that's not how our government works. You can't make the government go better by waving your flag and screaming.
Oh, how does our government work, Danny? Because I don't think you've ever explained it.
I mean, USA #1, okay? That's not how it works. That's not how a democracy works. We don't need cheerleaders. We need good...
How does a democracy work? How does a democracy work? Does it work by, you know, eating Fritos all day and sitting around in front of the TV and resting your beer on the elliptical behind you that you never use?
Citizens. So, anyway, talk to you later.
So, yeah, that was his thing. And the thing is that he criticizes Barack Obama now. But back then he was retweeting Barack Obama. He didn't have... So the initial way that... I don't know if I told you guys. The initial way that I actually got in contact with Danny Knapp was that at the time, and this is the same icon here. He hasn't had a tweet under this account name since 2012. But this is the same icon here as the other one. It's Danny Knapp here, and it's Danny Knapp here. And I was thinking... Why is it that Danny Knapp once said that trolls are pussies because they don't use their real names? Yet when I actually encountered him on Twitter, he used the name Troglodyte, Trawglodyte. And then I realized that he must have had a different account as well. And, you know, I was expecting something that was a little more current, but I did find it. Now, once again, the Troglodyte account he deleted after I contacted him asking for a debate. But like an idiot, he'd already sent me his email. So even though the conversation itself I can't preserve on Twitter, because Twitter forwards the emails, forwards the messages to my email, I still had a record of what his email was. So he probably was not expecting anybody to respond to him. He was expecting, you know, oh, I'm gonna run away to my cave just like always and pretend that I'm the smarter person, because you know, this is a person, he analyzes other people's videos, but he couldn't debate me for an hour. Basically, the whole hour was me explaining to him that the U.S. doesn't need to intervene in Venezuela. It doesn't need to intervene in Nicaragua. The socialist policies of those countries are unraveling the economies as they are. Okay, the Venezuelan economy is so bad that they can't even afford spare parts for their national airline. So average citizens can't fly around Venezuela, and it's not safe to use the roads often anymore. So basically, you have a country that's paralyzed. You have Nicaragua, a country where, you know, everybody talks about what progressivism really means. So you have progressives like Danny Knapp, this fat asshole from the middle of nowhere, pretending that he can call black people that happen to not be liberal or progressive puppets. So you think that in his eminent grace, in his grand, you know, his right as a noble man, Danny Knapp thinks that he can tell Amazing Lucas what to think and that he's a puppet, when Amazing Lucas is doing just fine. Amazing Lucas can say what, I mean, I don't know him that well. I don't really follow Amazing Lucas's channel. I've seen a couple of his videos. But again, you have people like Danny Knapp who are basically jealous, bitter, old, disgusting, fat losers that don't have any ideas of their own. They basically watch the Jimmy Dore show, or they watch Jamarl's show. Jamarl, you could actually say has at least a mind of his own, and he talks to people. I think he does have some degree of skepticism in his mind. It's not like I know Jamarl terribly well either, but I would say I respect Jamarl Thomas, even if he is very far on the other end of the spectrum than I am. But I'm not going to respect Danny Knapp. This guy is a coward. He took down his hype video. I didn't take down my hype video because I didn't pretend that you weren't going to show up, Danny. I knew you were going to show up, and I knew I would make you look like an idiot. Anybody who watched that debate, nobody thinks that you actually made a point. If they would like to say that you made a point, I'd like them to tell me exactly what it was. That you're defending one of the most anti-abortion regimes in Nicaragua under Daniel Ortega, pretending that you're a progressive for some reason, even though he made a pact with the Catholic Church in order to stay in power. But because he's a Sandinista and the symbolism is what matters, the symbolism is always what matters with you, Danny Knapp. Because back in 2012, now you're singing a different tune about Barack Obama, calling him a right-winger and whatever. But back then, you were basically tweeting against Mitt Romney, trying to say, "Oh, go away." I guess when workers are allowed to exercise their rights, it's crony capitalism. Good thing Mitt Romney is there to defend Boeing. Here's another one from all the way back. Let me see here. So he replies to Piers Morgan on February 9th. He says, why just tax Chinese imports? Why not tax all imports and abolish income tax? Gee, Danny, I didn't know that you were a libertarian at the time, buddy. So back in 2011, you wanted to abolish all income tax and tax imports. So you're basically, well, I guess he's not a libertarian because he's not a protectionist. But you're saying let's abolish income tax. I don't know if he was saying this ironically. It might be. But this is the same person who was following, he was basically saying everybody is a Saudi bot or something. And then he retweets Barack Obama. This account looks pretty inactive. But he says, anyone who tells you that America is in decline or that our influence has waned doesn't know what they are talking about. State of the Union. So what changed, Danny? I mean, you never said anything after that. You haven't really responded to anything that's happened after that. Could it be that you realized that you're just a moron at the time, but you never really spoke out against Barack Obama because you're too insecure? You're too much of a coward, just like you were a coward last week. You weaseled out. You said you deleted your, first of all, you deleted your Twitter account, the real Twitter account that you were using at the time. Okay, so and like the complete coward that you are. Then you deleted your hype video, the one that Savage Henry sent to me. Okay, I have the link, but it's deleted. What am I supposed to do now? But he told me what you said, so I'm not gonna let you go, you fat asshole. I'm gonna keep doing this because you're just a pathetic example of people who think that they can speak on behalf of other people and call them idiots, but you don't present any evidence. You present zero evidence. You didn't present any evidence to sustain the fact that Venezuela could succeed, even though it's $45 billion in debt to China. They're $45 billion in debt to China, and yet they're claiming that they're going to be able to revamp PDVSA, the oil carrier, with $240 million of infrastructure improvements. Okay, so basically what you're saying is that Venezuela, in order to sustain its most important and sole strategic industry at the moment, is dependent on Chinese handouts. So that's a government that you want to sustain over there in Venezuela. I would not be surprised if in the next few years Venezuela became openly a Chinese puppet state. And who would be to blame for that? Not the United States. It would be Venezuela. All right, I think we've gone long enough on this. And, if you guys want to check it out, I will include Danny's video in the description. And that's about it for right now. Take it easy, guys. And please like, share, subscribe, and comment below.